Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's show. We're excited to have Scott Tindle on the show. He is one of Mobile's most well-known entrepreneurs. He's here today, and we're going to talk to him about being a visionary, creating businesses, closing businesses, and sometimes starting over from scratch or just starting over and creating new monsters. I'm Karen. I'm a CPA, entrepreneur with big ideas, and I'm the mom.
I'm Cadie. I'm a payroll specialist, business owner, and detail-oriented person that makes things happen, and I'm the daughter. Welcome to Cheers to Business.
Tell you what, the first time I heard about you, Scott Tindle, I heard your name, didn't know you. I approached you on the street downtown one time and said, hey, I know who you are. But I'd heard that you were here and you were bringing stuff to Mobile, but you had been on Shark Tank. And one time I went to a partner summit in Baltimore, and Mr. Wonderful got out of a limousine, and I stalked him into a bar until he'd take a picture with me, and I still have that selfie. I love that show. I think every entrepreneur loves this show. How in the world did that happen?
It was a wonderful experience. I tell people that sometimes you have to get really lucky. There were over 70,000 people that applied to be on the show that year. We launched our company, Try, in late December of 2011. We were rolling into 2012, and really we like to say it was more of a soft launch. By February, we really felt like we had the business open. And then we just started, what I used to call fishing. So you got to remember the world was a lot different in 2012. Like the sharing economy didn't exist, and Airbnb didn't exist. Uber didn't exist. There was this thing called Rent the Runway, started by these two women from Harvard Business School, and we kind of adapted their model a little bit. But what we were really trying to do was convince men that it was okay to not own their ties, but just have access to a giant database of ties. And so we started sending these emails to all these bloggers around the country and saying, like, you're like the best blogger in the country on XYZ fashion.
You kissed
or
a
business.
little butt.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we didn't tell them that we were like the people that owned the company. We'd say like, I can't believe you haven't written about this business yet. So then they would.
You don't think they had any idea that it was you?
They probably did. But then what we would do is, like bloggers back then, they were just looking for as much content as possible. So we would can these articles. We'd send them to them. They'd fix them up the way they wanted them. They'd post them. We'd take those articles and then we'd send them to regional reporters. And we'd say, all these bloggers are talking about this business. You're one of the best business writers in the country. I can't believe you hadn't written about this yet. And so then they would then take those blog posts, turn it into an article for themselves. Then we would take those regional authors and then we would send them to national authors and say, oh, you work for Bloomberg.
Playing everybody
New York
against
Times.
everybody.
Yeah.
It's called business, isn't it?
That's right. And so we called it fishing. Like you take one fish, you catch a bigger fish, keep growing. And so then we took all those national articles from USA Today, from NPR, and we sent them into the Today Show, and we got on the Today Show. And so then we took the Today Show, NPR, Fox Business Network, took all those, and that became our application for Shark Tank, where we said...
You had a resume.
We did. We said, oh, you're interested in the most innovative businesses in the country, and all these people have already vouched for us that we're a pretty innovative business model, and we think you should give us a shot. So we submit this online application. A few weeks later, we get a call from one of the producers. You basically have to go through all these series of interviews. You do a phone interview. Then you have to send a video to them that's 3 minutes unedited. So they want a 3-minute unedited video. They basically just want to see how you could pitch. And we sent them that. And that was probably in like April. Then in June, we get this call that says, you may be selected to do the show. We don't know yet, but you've made it past an initial series of rounds. We'll let you know. Well, then they don't really give you any heads up. And then they call and they're like, in 5 days, we're flying you to Los Angeles. And you're like, whoa, hold on. So you got to put your whole life on hold.
And find the money for a ticket, right?
Yeah, you got to pay your own way out there. Back then, you had to fly your own props out there and build your own props.
That could be expensive.
Well, from seeing the production now, I feel like the show is probably doing the production for you. But back then, when we did it, you had to fly everything out. We had to crate it up, fly it all out, and it is expensive. And then, so they put you in a hotel, but then you go through another series of interviews, and people just don't really think about the fact that, oh, you think you're on the show. You still have to pitch the producers. You still have to do a screen test. You still have to go through these processes. Even then, you record the episode, and you have no idea if it's going to air. And they don't make you any promises. So then we go from June all the way to November, and it's the last weekend of October, maybe the first weekend of November. I can't remember exactly, but they basically call and say, your show's going to air in a week. And, oh, by the way, you better get your website ready because 7.5 million people are watching the show right now.
So is there anything you regret about doing that?
About the show?
Yeah.
Man, I don't believe in regrets. I mean, there's things I would do. There's things I would do differently probably, but like I wouldn't undo any of the things we did. We were just a couple of dudes out there trying to figure out our way. And one of the great takeaways was Damon Johns tells us, he's like, I don't really feel like you have a passion for fashion. Like you're not telling me about all these different styles and knots. And he's a fashion guy. And I told him straight up, I was like, I'll be honest with you, Damon, we don't have a passion for fashion. We're got guys renting ties. We just don't want to look silly in front of the girls in our lives, whether it's your girlfriend, your wife, or some date you're taking out. So one of the great takeaways from that is ever since then, I've tried to focus businesses that I've spent my time on things that I'm actually passionate about. That one was one where we found a niche that we were like, this will work. We felt very confident.
Just lucky?
I think luck is always something to do with it. I think we had a good business model. We were early in this sharing economy. People were like, oh, well, this is interesting. It was very niche. It was very kind of innovative. But since then, if I'm going to spend my time, energy, and effort, better be something I'm passionate about. Even when you have a good idea, if you're not passionate about it, it feels like work.
Well, you're just digging holes at that point, just like the movie Holes. But I live like that too. There are no regrets. If I hadn't done the dumb shit that I did before, then I wouldn't end up where I'm at right now. Right. And I'm having a whole lot of fun. And I think that God, life, whatever, gives us different signs in our life showing us which way to go. And sometimes we just have to hit bottom.
Yeah, I mean, for me now, when I'm looking at businesses that I'm either investing in or spending my time on, if I am passionate about it, it doesn't feel like work. And so my hobbies are having business conversations.
Oh, yeah.
Creating new business deals, trying to find ways to create new things. And so for me, that's fun. It doesn't feel like work.
This isn't work to me. I totally get it. This is not
I used to be like super emotionally invested in college football. And then I realized like I cannot control the outcome of the game. So let me spend time worrying about things I can control the outcome of.
That's how I stayed married, right? By my husband realizing that I am not responsible for the coaching staff for the University of Alabama.
Yeah, that's a good
That's how we've made it 30 years, just saying.
That's a good point.
But I get your point on that. All right. So did Shark Tank, it's still, reruns are still going. You had some big takeaways. So tell us about the Gulf Coast Ducks.
Yeah. So Gulf Coast Ducks is an amphibious duck tour. We're half on land, half on water. We're the only one on the Gulf Coast. We have over 1,500 5-star reviews, and we're really proud of that because we're intentional and purposeful about the things we're trying to create.
Number one, I had my office Christmas party there with you guys last year. We had such a good time. I don't think there's not anybody, tourist or not, that hasn't gone on and not had a good time. And we're so sad to see the ducks going.
Well, thank you for that. We appreciate the kind words. For us, the ducks are this wonderful example of you can do as many things you want the right way. And sometimes business just doesn't work out. So for anyone listening that doesn't know, on July 19th of 2018, there was an accident in Branson, Missouri, on an amphibious duck boat that's very similar to the operation we ran, Gulf Coast Ducks. And unfortunately, there were 31 passengers on board, 17 of them drowned. Following that morning, we knew, at least I knew, that everything was going to be different. At that point, trying to figure out how do you protect your business, but how do you protect your teammates? How do you protect your employees? How do you protect your assets? And what does the wind down need to look like? And so somebody the other day asked me, what's the proudest thing I've done in my career? And I think for me, being able to wind this thing down and protect my employees and our team and either pivot them into other jobs within our companies or find them other places where they can provide for their families is the proudest thing that
you should be proud. I don't know anybody else out there that would go to that lengths. If their business is done, they're done. Shut the door. Sorry, wish you guys luck. And for somebody not to do that, but to see it all through, says a lot about your character and tells a lot about the businesses that you're bringing to town, because you got to have that foundation and that person and that care behind it for it to be successful.
Everything that we do is relational and not transactional. And
Perfect.
So if we're looking at the two things I'm most proud of our team from the time of the accident until the time that we announced that we were closing. That's the second, right? But the most proud I've been is once we announced that we were closing, we still had 7 weeks worth of entertaining our guests and getting 5-star reviews and going out there and not flaking out and knowing that it's the light at the end of the tunnel. Like we knew what was going to be the last day. And up until the very last tour, our people were still going out and they were crying sometimes in between tours. And
but they stayed upset, with you. That says with so us much.
And we went and we call it grit and pivot, right? So the grit is this idea that you have two options. You can lay down and you can cry about it, or you can get up and go do something. So there's this Professor Angela Duckworth, and she says that grit is this kind of remarkable combination of perseverance and passion. And it's like you're going to persevere and you're passionate about it.
We talk about that in our first show. I mean, that's literally the word that's used is if you don't have the grit, find people with the grit.
Yeah, so we build our model on this kind of hybrid of grit, kindness, and what we say is relentless optimism. So for us, it's like, it's not optimism. Optimism, that's a fleeting feeling. But if you have relentless optimism, you do not give up that optimism. And there's this wonderful psychologist, Dr. John Brennan, who's actually, we'll talk about later, is coming to the Senior Bowl Summit.
Oh, good.
But he has been teaching me these things about meta feelings. And so instead of saying like, I feel anxious, he said, no, you feel anxiety. So if it's just a feeling rather than what defines you, you can then let that feeling float by and not attach it to what you are and define what you do. And so we try and teach our team that. You're not depressed. You are not sad. You are feeling sadness. You are feeling blue. These are all things that are acceptable because your brain is creating these chemicals that make you feel that way. So that's a legitimate feeling, but you can't attach that feeling to what you are or kind of your identity. It doesn't define you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that is how we maintain this relentless optimism, that we can let this anxiety or this fear or this sadness become a part, but then float by and not just root down inside of us.
Some people can do it naturally, and some people have to choose to do it.
I mean, I feel like for us, it's being intentional and purposeful about training ourselves in that capacity. And that's really what we're trying to do, is just work with our team to continue to train ourselves that way, to think that way, because it's not easy. I mean, we went from having a multi-million-dollar business on July 18th to waking up the morning of July 19th and having it snatched away from us, and we did nothing wrong. Just like a flash of lightning in the Missouri sky, it was all gone.
I mean, I would get up and literally want to throw up and then shake it off and then, at least brush your teeth and decide which way to go, which direction.
That's what we did. I mean, I woke up the next morning and I probably had 100 texts in the middle of the night, and the next morning, what are we going to do? We decided that we would take every local media request. We would talk to every single local media outlet that wanted to talk to us.
That's so smart.
And we would be intentional and purposeful, and we'd be informative and authoritative in why we felt good about our safety procedures and our safety policies. We also decided that we would decline every national media request because we were not going to speak on behalf of the industry. We were going to speak on behalf of ourselves. And let me just be honest with you, I'm a media whore. So to turn down CNN and Fox News and all this, that hurt me, like not to go out and tell our story.
Right.
But we decided that why we thought we were doing things the right way, and why we thought our business model was a good and successful and safe business model.
All right. So even before this happened, you started another venture. So we have Sylvia's Biscuits, which I've eaten there, and it is to die for. It is so good. Down at Cadie.
Yeah, Fort Cadie.
Yeah, Fort Cadie. Tell us a little bit about that and how you got started with that.
So Sylvia's Biscuits and Po' Boys is our version of what we think Mobile is. Mobile is this: we're a southern city, but we're a coastal city. There's nothing more southern than biscuits. There's nothing more coastal than Po' Boys. And so we wanted to be this kind of hybrid of that. I don't like using similes. I don't like saying like Mobile is like this or like that. We want to be our own culture, but we got to define what we are, right? As a community, we got to define that. So this is our version of trying to define our portion, our little piece of what we are. So we're fresh seafood, we're fresh produce, and we are this kind of breakfast biscuit, southern gravy grit,
Pour gravy all over it all day long. But why go into the restaurant business? What the heck did you know about the restaurant business?
I didn't know anything about the restaurant business, which is why I ended up there. Because if you know anything about the restaurant business, you wouldn't be in it. So for us, it was this idea that we were managing the fort. We have this old colonial fort here in downtown Mobile. We're managing that on behalf of the city and the History Museum. Our duck boats were all running out of there. And so many times people would come by and they'd say, man, we had so much time on the tour. What should we do for lunch? And we'd say, oh, you should go down the street and go to wherever. Or they're like, oh, man, can I just get a drink before we go on the tour? Yeah, if you just go down to wherever, you can get a drink. Well,
opportunity.
Yeah, well, we were riding 70,000 people a year, and, it was really hard for a restaurant to get 70,000 people in the front door. We were bringing them in the front door. We just need to leverage them. Now the ducks are gone. So the restaurant has to do this grit and pivot thing as well, right? So no longer do 70,000 people come to our front doors of the restaurant. So what we're doing now is how do you pivot that? How do you become this event space? How do you become this caterer that
you're going to take the fort and do that?
Yeah, we're going to take the fort. We'll be the event space. We'll host you there and we'll have a wonderful time. We'll be the caterer and the alcohol provider. But
so what's that going to be called?
It's still Sylvia's Biscuits and Po' Boys. We're still located right there. And
but the venue of the fort.
It's called the Fort of Colonial Mobile.
Right.
And we are the venue, but we can be outbound where if you're a business and you need lunch catered in, we'll bring the lunch to you. If you need breakfast, we'll bring the breakfast to you. So now it's about like everything else. So, all of our businesses over there were kind of intertwined together. And so you can't shut one without affecting others, but you also can't let those others falter because of the things that happen that are beyond your control. So same thing. You got to get gritty.
Get up and
get gritty and figure it out.
Call it the Roomba what is it, the vacuum cleaner, it hits the wall, you just turn around and go a different direction.
I mean, complaining about it is not going to solve any of the problems. So we like to say it's not our fault, but it is our problem. So this thing that happened in Branson is not my fault, but it is absolutely my problem.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, you hate to see that, but I'm sorry, it's called life and it's going to happen.
Life is life, man. Yeah.
Now, before we get to the thing that I'm really excited about coming to Mobile that you're bringing to town is I wanted to ask you something that people ask me because you have a lot more going on than I do. And I got a little bit. But how do you do it all? How do you wear the different hats? And to me, it's not a big deal because things are just in compartments. But I'd like your take of how you deal with it.
We have a lot going on, but we have a really good team. So
it's all about the team.
We have such a good team. I mean, my team makes me look so good. They do a lot of the heavy lifting, the hard work. They let me do fun things like come and do podcasts and go out and speak to chambers of commerce and things like that. They're really the ones doing the heavy lifting. And so what we've done is we've centralized our admin team so that if we have a team meeting and I've got 5 people there, we're going to talk about every business during the course of that meeting. I don't have to have a separate meeting for the restaurant, a separate meeting for our automotive maintenance shop, a separate meeting for Senior Bowl Summit or our consulting group or any of those things we're doing. And it also allows us to share some work. Yeah.
Okay.
So we got a lot going on.
You're going to come back for a different show later, right?
It'll be part 2 of the podcast. So honestly, it's just the team makes me look so good. And what we say is select for attitude and train for aptitude. I can find great people and I can teach them how to do what I need them to do. I cannot make somebody be a nice person. I can't. I can't take somebody who's unhappy, make them happy, and then make them good at their job.
You can't buy loyalty. You can't, or just a care.
I think that one thing that our team knows is that we will do everything we have to do to take care of them. And here's what I think makes the biggest difference. So everybody on our team knows if you say, what do you do? They don't tell you their job description. They say, we're trying to build a company that makes $1 billion and gives it all away. Because we don't need what $1 billion can buy. We need what $1 billion can do. We need to be able to go start a children's hospital. We need to be able to go transform communities. And when you speak that way to your team, it doesn't feel like I'm a waitress in the restaurant. I wash dishes in a kitchen. I give tours on a duck boat. It feels like I'm building $1 billion company so that we can give it all away.
And aspect of that of I belong to something that's going to be great versus, somebody washing a dish and going and playing Xbox. It's about dreams.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. Something. And so they allow me to go do the things that I'm good at. And they do a wonderful job doing the things that they're good at. In summation, I spend as much of my time as possible being intentional and purposeful about things I can control. People that, you don't ever sleep. I sleep plenty. I just spend my waking hours doing things that are productive. I don't watch a whole lot of Netflix. I don't play video games. I don't watch YouTube. And the people that do like to do those things, I don't begrudge those people. Like, if that's what you like to do, and that's what makes you happy, great. What makes me happy is working with my team, building new businesses. Even if it's just like getting with a friend and hanging out for an hour and dreaming dreams and talking about visions of the future and things we're going to create, that's the seeds of the future businesses we create. So for me, that is still productive time spent. And it also allows my brain to kind of like turn into overdrive rather than like the details of the actual day and then start dreaming of the future. And that's where the fun happens for me. That's the best hour I spend.
All right. You just reminded me of something. So have you read the book Rocket Fuel?
I have not, but it sounds like my kind of book.
Well, somebody heard Cadie and I on the podcast and texted me and said, you have to read the book. It's You and Cadie Made Over. So I got the Audible for it because it's the most productive use of your time.
Absolutely.
In the car. And it's about visionaries. Every visionary must have an integrator. And so I started looking around at the different companies that I have, and I have an integrator in place in every single one. And so I was wondering, who's your integrator? If you're the visionary, because the world grows. When you see it and you're envisioning something, it actually starts to grow and pieces literally move in front of your face. And so who's your integrator?
So I have found that my specific personality works best with people who are, I'm an ENFP, if you want to get in kind of this Enneagram thing. I work best with ESFJs, and I've got 3 on my team. They're 3 strong, smart, young, assertive women. And basically, Brittany, Darcy, and Shay run our companies. These 3 women, no matter which company we're dealing with, the 3 of them are running the things.
Can they come on the show too?
It would be the best show ever.
I'd love it.
Yeah, get you a couple bottles of wine and a bunch of microphones. And literally, those 3 women run our companies, and they allow me to go do the things I go do. And I'm super ADD, so they're able to have different skill sets. We're able to do all of our graphic design and marketing in-house. We're able to do all of our business operations in-house. We do all of our projections, and all of our business operations fall within the 3 of them. they're the secret sauce behind the things that I do.
See, I always want to hire people smarter than me in something.
Yeah, I like to say if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room, which is why I like spending time with Johnny, because I'm never the smartest person in the room when he's around.
All right. Speaking of smart people, you've put together something, and I know you and Bradley Flowers, I'm going to give it out to him too, who we love. And you guys have put together something coming to Mobile for the first time that I hope is going to an annual event. And guys, after you get through hearing about this, go on, sign up. I've already got my ticket. So Scott, tell us what's going on, because I think it's going to be fantastic for Mobile.
Yeah, on January 25th, we're hosting something in Mobile called the Senior Bowl Leadership Summit. And the whole idea of this summit is that we can bring world-class team builders to the Gulf Coast. And so we are not trying to build a sports event. This is a team building and leadership event. It does have a sports filter due to our connection to the Senior Bowl, but everyone can learn from this. So our slogan is building teams on the field, in the classroom, in the office, and just really trying to find ways that we can leverage the giant brain power of the folks on the panel so that we can get practical takeaways for what we're doing in our daily lives. We've got John Gruden from the Oakland Raiders. We've got Kyle Shanahan from San Francisco 49ers. We've got the GM of the Baltimore Ravens, Ozzie Newsome. The assistant GM of the Houston Astros, Brandon Tobin. He took them from 111 losses to winning the World Series last year. We've got a guy named Jesse Cole, who really I'm jazzed about getting to spend time with Jesse. Jesse has created this college wooden bat league team in Savannah, Georgia, and he sold out 4,000 seats 60 nights in a row. 60 nights in a row. His whole 2019 season is already sold out. You cannot buy a ticket to his games for the Savannah Bananas. The reason I love the Savannah Bananas,
really?
They're so different.
It's
so amazing. So, like, what he says is he wants to do business differently. And if somebody
is that
already
the guy in the yellow suit I saw on Facebook?
Yeah, Jesse, the yellow tuxedo. You got to have him on the show. You would love him.
Oh, I'd love to. Can we?
He has this dance team, and they're called the Savannah Banana Nanas. It's a grandma dance team.
Can I join it? I'm a grandma.
Yes, absolutely.
I can't wait.
His first base coach is a breakdancing first base coach. His parking attendants are the parking penguins. And people say, what in the world do penguins have to do with anything? He says, doesn't matter. Did you smile when you saw the penguins? And people say, yeah, I did smile when I saw the penguins.
See, because I was scared because I'm not that, sports besides college football, that I was just planned on taking my phone and doing a selfie with every single person there. So I'll probably have the parking guy and the waiter, and just in case, I don't want to miss anybody that's really famous.
No, those guys are great. And so Dr. Jim Brennan's going to be there. He's the guy I was telling you about that taught me about the meta feelings. And he is one of the world-class leading psychologists in human performance and emotional intelligence. He works for, like NASA, UN, and Google. I mean, if it's good enough for those guys, it's good enough for me to learn from. But it's just a really unique and great experience. We're going to have Todd McShay from ESPN and Daniel Jeremiah from the NFL Network, and these guys that have seen the way teams are built. And they're not going to talk about football or baseball or whatever their sport is. They're going to talk about how we build teams and what is the fabric. It's all the same concepts and how we apply those things. And so it is going to be an annual event. And next year, instead of being about teamwork, it's going to be about grit and perseverance. And so we'll be bringing in Gary Vaynerchuk. A lot of people listening to your show probably know Gary V.
Yeah.
He's going to be coming to join us. And then, we're just building these kind of world-class leaders that can come in and talk about grit. Because if we're going to be in the business of business, which is what we all are, it doesn't matter what your business is.
No, it's all
you got
the
to
same.
have grit, right? That's this weird confluence of passion and perseverance. And so we can all learn from those things. And we really think this year it's going to be a regional event, and that next year is going to be a national event. We're just really excited. And
well,
Senior
you
Bowl's
remember
been a
the
great
ones who get in now?
Yeah,
on the regional.
I think
when it goes
Johnny
national?
had a great idea that we're just going to create a loyalty program, right? And everybody's going to get points, and maybe it was your idea. Okay,
give it credit.
You had
Johnny,
a great idea.
That's okay.
To have a loyalty program, and so
I just wanted points like in a football system.
We'll get Gary to sign a pair of K-Swiss for you or something.
Remember the loyal little people. Help get you there.
It's easy to remember the little people when you're me because I'm always the little person. So
whatever. Hard. Okay, that's some humbleness right there. I tell you what, Scott, we've just been so impressed with you and watching you over the years. People love you because you're not scared to try anything and you care about your people. Do you think there's an end to it? You think you'll have enough? My husband asked me that. When's enough? And I don't have as many different things as you do. So how do you find that balance with your family?
Unfortunately, I think that what I have is a compulsion. It's probably a mental disorder. I don't know that enough will ever be enough. I don't know that answer. I don't know where that'll be. I'm fortunate that I have a saint of a wife that understands what we're building. We have 3 daughters that are 8, 5, and 2. She understands that everything that I'm trying to build has nothing to do with me, has everything to do to create transformational change for them. And so when I'm out doing these things, it's not about me. It's about the team. It's about my children. It's about transforming our communities and making $1 billion to give it all away. And when it's not about you, it's a lot easier to go do these things and spend that time because you find your sense of accomplishment from the things you're able to create rather than the things you're able to consume. I could never consume enough to make myself happy, but I can go create enough to drive that happiness. And I'm just the type of person, I'm happy when other people are happy.
It's never about a dollar today. Never, ever has it been
that's
about.
the relational prospect, right? So you could go transact somebody and you can make more money today, but it's about this relational it's about this relational process that we will build far more benefit over decades if we do it the right way rather than just trying to transact somebody in the end. I
don't want the dollar today. I don't. It's not worth what you give up for the future, I think.
Yeah, I just don't need the money. I need the relationships. I need the ability to transform the world and help lift our employees to new levels. And so what I tell them is as this company grows, you will grow. If you buy in now, you believe the things that we believe, as we grow, you will grow with us. And then I feel like that's why we get the buy-in that we do. I mean, we have 47 employees and 42 of them are under the age of 30.
Wow.
So that's a different level.
It's just a different environment. Did you target that? To go after an idealism of where that age group wants to be later? Was it a long-term conscious?
It wasn't intentional and purposeful. It was what we could afford in the beginning. It was people who were, honestly,
I love the honesty.
It was like people who were starting out in their careers and we're going I probably can't pay you what the guy down the street can pay you, but your upside is a hell of a lot higher with us than it will be.
You gave him something to believe in.
I like to think so.
Yeah. No, I think that's so cool.
We're just pretty honest with those folks.
All right. Well, Johnny's doing the thing with his finger. They have to wrap it up. Okay, and I'll tell you what, Cadie's going to be so upset. She thinks a lot of you too. And
we'll do part 2. It'll be fun. I'll be back whenever you're ready.
We'd love it. So we definitely want you to come back on the show.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here, but hope you enjoyed it and had a good time.
I had a fantastic time. I'll be here anytime you invite me. Much like Robert Herjavec, you just tell me when to be here and I'll show up.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we have to do a cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Here's to grit, pivot, and gravy.
Cheers to that.
Y'all, thank you so much for listening and being here with us today. I'm Karen.
I'm Cadie. Please be sure to subscribe to Cheers to Business podcast on iTunes or anywhere else that you get your podcast. Visit our Facebook and be sure to give us a like. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to discuss, shoot us an email from the website cheerstobusiness.com.